Hi, I'm Heather from Heather Handmade, and today I'm going to teach you how to sew a bookmark 4 different ways. Please like this video and follow my channel for lots of fun sewing projects. So there are 4 different kinds of bookmarks. There's one with a pinked edge. This is the easiest one of them all, since you don't have to turn anything right side out. Then there's one that's just a simple rectangle. There's one that is like a square and a triangle, and this one sits on the corner of a page. And the last one is a bookmark that comes around and it has elastic on the inside to help you save your spot. The great thing about these bookmarks is that they are really easy to sew and they only need like a tiny bit of fabric. So this is a great scrap busting project to use up some of your scraps. You can use really fun prints. You can personalize the bookmark by adding the person's name. There's just so many fun things and ways to customize a bookmark, and you can choose one of the 4 different designs that you would like the best. So let's get started. For all of these bookmarks, you are going to need to start with quilting cotton. You can have a big piece like this, but we really are only going to use smaller pieces. The largest one is 12 inches tall by 2.5 inches wide. So you can use small scraps of fabric and still be able to make some pretty great bookmarks. You're also going to need some fusible interfacing. You can use a light to medium weight interfacing and it will work just great. For the bookmark that has raw edges that you cut the edges with picking shears, you are going to need 2 pieces of fabric that are cut 2.5 inches wide by 6.5 inches tall. You're also going to need a piece of fusible interfacing of the same size, but just 1 instead of 2. The next thing you're going to do with your bookmark pieces is you are going to fuse your interfacing to the wrong side of one of your bookmark pieces. Now you're going to take your fabric pieces and see how one has interfacing. So this is a directional print, so I have to make sure that I line up like the top with the top. But what you're going to do is you are going to place your fabrics pieces wrong sides together and then pin around the edges to line it up. See how my interfacing is poking out a little bit? But that's because it's a little bit long on this side. So make sure that you're lining up your fabric edges instead of your interfacing edges. Now you're going to sew around the edge 3/8 inch, and you're just going to do a straight line, and you're going to pivot at the corners and backstitch when you start and when you stop. Once this bookmark has been sewn, you can trim any interfacing that's showing. Then take some picking shears and we are going to trim just along all of the edges, and this makes it so that you will have an edge that is less likely to fray. The picking shears helps prevent that, and it gives it a nice pretty edge. And this bookmark is now finished. For the bookmark that is a rectangle, but all the edges are enclosed, we are going to cut we are going to cut 2 pieces of fabric that are 2.5 inches wide and 6.5 inches tall. Then you're going to need 1 piece of interfacing that's the same size. The next thing you're going to do with your bookmark pieces is you are going to fuse your interfacing to the wrong side of one of your bookmark pieces. Now you're going to take your fabric pieces, this is the one that's interfaced, and you are going to place them right sides together, lining up your edges, and then pin. And you're going to sew around the edges. You're going to pivot at the corners. You're going to backstitch when you start and when you stop, but make sure you leave a 2-inch hole on one of these long sides so that you'll be able to turn the rectangle right side out. Now take some scissors and you are going to trim these corners to reduce the bulk when you turn it right side out. Now you're going to turn the bookmark right side out through the hole. Now you are going to press this flat and make sure that this hole where the seam allowance is, that it's tucked inside so you get a nice, straight line right there. Now to finish this bookmark, we're going to sew 1/8 inch around the entire edge, and we're going to sew over the hole so that it closes it, and make sure you backstitch when you start and when you stop. For the bookmark that's kind of a square and a triangle that hooks onto the corner of your book page, you are going to need 3 pieces of fabric that are cut 4 inches by 4 inches. You're also going to need 2 pieces of interfacing that are 4 inches by 4 inches. The next thing you're going to do with your bookmark pieces is you are going to fuse your interfacing to the wrong side of one of your bookmark pieces. If you're doing the one that's like a square and a triangle, then you will have 2 pieces of interfacing and you will fuse it to 2 pieces of fabric. So you have two interface pieces and one that's not interfaced. So take one of your interface pieces and you are going to fold it down like a diagonal, so from corner to corner. So fold that and do a light finger press. Then line it up with the two sides on the other interfaced piece. So I'm lining up 3 corners and 2 sides. So pin that in place. Then take your remaining piece of fabric and place it on top with right sides together, and then pin all of these layers together. Then you're going to sew around the edges. You're going to leave a 2-inch hole and backstitch when you start and when you stop, and pivot at the corners. Now you're going to trim the corners to reduce bulk when you turn it right side out. Now you are going to turn the bookmark right side out. Now you're going to press this whole bookmark flat and make sure that you press this seam allowance, tucked inside. Now we're going to sew all the way around the square with a 1/8 inch seam allowance, and make sure that you sew across this hole to keep it closed. For the bookmark that has elastic, you are going to cut 2 pieces of fabric that are 2.5 inches wide and 12 inches tall. Then you're going to need 1 piece of interfacing that is 12 inches tall and 2.5 inches wide. The next thing you're going to do with your bookmark pieces is you are going to fuse your interfacing to the wrong side of one of your bookmark pieces. So take your fabric pieces and place them right sides together. And you're going to pin them just in the center for now. Then here at the edge, the short edge, you're going to fold each side in 1/4 inch and pin it folded like this. And do the same to the other short side. So when you sew, you're going to sew just each long side with a straight stitch and 3/8 inch seam allowance. You're going to make sure that you backstitch when you start and when you stop. Now you're going to turn this whole tube right side out. Now you're going to press this whole tube flat and make sure that these edges that you folded under, make sure that they stay folded under when you press it. So cut your piece of elastic 8 inches long, and then see how these edges are still open, there's still a hole. So we're going to place the elastic right in here, like in the center, but far enough in that it will be secured inside, and pin it with a pin. And then you're going to take this other side and bring it over to the other edge, the other hole, and we're going to slide it in the center and pin this in place. So now when you go to sew this, you're going to sew 1/8 from the edge, and you're going to sew across to close the hole. And that is how you sew a bookmark, one of 4 ways. Please tell me which bookmark is your favorite and which one you want to try. You can check out this playlist for some other fun beginner sewing projects or some other scrap fabric sewing projects. I hope you have a wonderful day.